Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Thankful Palette. My name is Tracy Herbner, and tonight we are going to be painting a little bit of hope and inspiration tonight. I'm so glad that you're here. This is what we'll be painting. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." We will be doing it on a 9x12 canvas, and we're going to be doing our background in a blue and a gray color, and then we'll be adding some flowers on there as well as our scripture of the day, our scripture on there. So let's get started. Just get everything set up here. All right, let's flip you down so you can see what we're painting. Just a little crooked. There we go. Okay, as you can see, we have our 9x13 canvas. And for the background color, I'm going to be using two colors. I'm going to be using a dark gray and a pale blue. And we're just going to put a little bit on our palette. I'm going to show you what I'm doing as I'm doing it here. So just a little bit of our gray and a little bit of the blue. And if you're joining me tonight, let me know that you're here so I know that you're here. And so basically I'm going to start with the flat brush, and I'm just going to get it a little bit wet in the water, and I'm going to pat out some of the water on the brush. And all I'm going to do is be more heavy on the blue and come into the gray a little bit and go back and forth. So all I'm going to do is go back and forth, back and forth. Make sure you get your sides. The scripture that I'm going to be putting on here tonight is Psalm 46:10. It is, "Be still and know that I am God." And I think in these times when things are crazy and not as they are, to have a visual reminder is a good thing for us. So I chose this scripture. If you're painting along, you could certainly paint your favorite scripture or a scripture that you're holding on to in these times. And I think Patty just joined me. Hello, Patty. How are you? Glad you're here tonight. I'm going to do my best to keep up with the comments below. It's just sometimes it's a little delayed for me to see it, so I apologize. And as you can see, I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. And I think that Colleen just hopped on. Colleen, are you painting with me tonight? And again, you want to make sure that you get your edges, because if you're hanging this or putting this on an easel, you just want it to be a finished edge. So that's pretty much what I'm doing here. Okay, let's finish this. And as you can see, I'm just going, like, making a crisscross motion. And if I feel like I want some more of the gray in there, then I'm gonna just come back in with the gray color. Looks like I got a clump there. Okay. So then, once you're happy with it, we're gonna need it to dry. So we're gonna give it a second here. And we may hit it with the blow dryer here in a second. Hey Carrie, so glad that you could join us. Okay, so just bear with me while I blow it dry a little bit. Dry, what I'm gonna do is kind of just take a piece of chalk and visually see where I'm gonna put everything at. So on my sample, I put a flower here, here, and here, and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm just gonna put like a circle where I'm gonna put my flowers so that I have, you know, just a template. And I did a yellow one on our sample, so I'm going to go ahead and get some yellow paint, and I'm using a yellow called Sunny Day. Again, I just put a drop of yellow on my palette, and there's the dogs. I apologize. Not sure what they see out there. And I'm going to use let's use a flat brush. Just using a flat brush and just get it a little wet, and load your paint in your brush. And all I'm going to do is do petals around that circle, and I am going to start on my tip and pull down and just turn my work as I go. Because if I don't turn my work, I tend to be lopsided, so I find it's just easier for me. And I'm not too worried about them being squared off for right now. We'll make them a little rounder as we go. Just trying to get the start of the petals in place. Okay. So then all I'm going to do is kind of round them out. This is just the base layer of it. We're going to come back in and add different layers. And you can see I'm leaving the center go because we're going to come back in with the center in a little while. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my bottom flower here, and I did this one a green, and I'm going to keep a green, and I am using sage green. Hello, Kimberly. I'm glad you hopped on tonight. And for this one, I am going to use a different brush. I'm trying to show you like the different techniques that you get, like the different shapes that you get with the different brushes. So let's go ahead and I want to use a round brush. I'm just looking for the good one. As you can see, I have a lot of brushes to pick from, so bear with me a second. Hey Jossie, I'm glad you joined us tonight. I'm not sure if everybody saw Jossie's post. She painted a beautiful picture and posted it onto the page. So if you didn't have a chance to look at it, be sure and go back and look at it because it's beautiful. Along with Carrie and her daughter, she did as well. Okay, so here is a number 5 round. And again, I'm just going to get my paint brush wet, and I am going to put it into the green paint, and I want to show you how I'm loading the round brush. I'm going back and forth like that. So I'm just kind of going side to side and loading my brush with paint. Okay. And I'm going to start out and pull down, and you could see that that one is more rounded than with the other brush that we started. And this one we're going to have to add a couple of layers just because it is a lighter color green. I like this color. Hey Joy, so glad that you could join us. And guys, if you're enjoying these painting videos, if you wouldn't mind spreading the love with your friends on your wall, I would greatly appreciate it, especially tonight's, just because we are looking to spread some hope tonight with our painting. So if you could do that, we would appreciate it. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go back in and fill in a little bit, make some of the petals a little bit bigger for this base layer. So we'll let that one dry, and then we're going to go down here to our other small flower, and this one we're going to do pink, and I am using a light pink for this. And for this brush, I think I'm going to use a filbert brush. So a filbert brush is a rounded, if you could see here, the tip is rounded. This is one of my favorite brushes to use for flowers just because it's going to give me that good round edge. So this would be one of my go-tos. And again, I apologize for those puppies barking. I'm not sure what they see, but they see something. And you could see there how it gives it more of definitely a rounded edge. So again, just going in and turning my work so it's not lopsided. Okay. Okay. So we're going to have to blow dry a little bit just so we could start our second layer. So I'm going to grab the blow dryer. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my yellow one. So I'm just going to turn this around and bring it closer. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to my palette. And I'm going to start adding in some details. And for this, I'm going to use a very small round brush and just start coming in and adding. So again, just wetting it, getting some white on my paintbrush, going back and forth a little bit. And I'm going to just come in and just kind of add some paint, and all I'm doing is almost making little parentheses in there with the paintbrush. And you can see that. Okay, so we'll let that layer dry. And then I'm going to come back in on the green, and I'm going to actually add a little bit of olive green into that just to make that color pop a little bit more, and not a whole lot. And for this, I'm just going to get a very tiny brush like this. You can see it's barely even there. And for this, I'm just going to kind of shade the edges. And pretty much all I'm doing with this on this step is, if you could see here, just outlining the petals. And I want that color to pop just a little bit more. So, for all my Jesus girls out there, what scripture would you put on your painting? Drop it below for us, because maybe there'll be one that somebody else could use. And again, the one on what I'm painting is Psalm 46:10, which is, "Be still and know that I am God." And for me, that just gives me great comfort that no matter what's going on, I don't need to know. I don't need to worry about it or be fearful, because God still is and always will be. And He's got it. So I could enjoy the ride, however uncomfortable it may be, and however different it may be. He's got us in His hands. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for that layer on that one. And we're going to go into the pink, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm just getting a different brush here, same size brush, just a different one, because I'm going to go in with white. And for this one, I'm going to just go in, and I'm doing like a dry brush technique in the petal, just taking the white and kind of just dragging it through. So let's let that one dry. Alright, so again, we're going to have to use the blow dryer. Sorry, ladies. then while that's drying a little bit, I'm going to go into the center. And for the center, I'm using a color called Espresso Bean. And I'm just going to take a dry brush, and where's it at here? I'm going to take what I call a scruffy brush and basically dry. I'm not going to put any water on it, and I'm going to come into my brown, the Espresso Bean paint. And all I'm doing is going in and tapping in, and then I'm going to come into my flower center and do the same exact thing. Just kind of tapping it and layering it. I'm going to do the same for all 3 flowers using the same color. Okay, so then we're going to let that in there. I might need to go back in with a little bit more color once it dries a little bit. All right, so let's go back to our yellow flower. And basically all I'm going to do is go back in with the thin brush and kind of just add some of the yellow back in. And pretty much all I'm doing is just layering between the yellow and the white to give it layers. Be hard with the light, and I apologize. And I'll just see where I need to come back in with each color. Just to give it to some dimension. And you can see it just adds layers. It's all about layering. Okay. All right, so we'll let that one dry and we'll go down to our green one. And now with our green one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with some white with a very thin brush. And just kind of come in and again, very lightly, light pressure, put some what I call parentheses in the flower. And we'll let just coming down closer to the center of the flower and just adding a couple little lines at each petal. Alright, so we'll come back to that one as well. And then let's come back to the pink one. And again, the very thin brush, and I'm going to come back in with the pink and the white and just kind of layering it just like I did with the yellow one. So I have some of the lighter color in there. I'm going to come in with the dark Just kind of both colors. And just keep adding layers and dimension. You ladies are quiet this evening. If you're enjoying this, give me a thumbs up or a heart. So let's let that one dry. All right, so now just want to kind of step back and see where I'm at here and if I'm happy. I want to add some more dimension to this green one for sure. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to come in with my dark and my light green and kind of mix them up a little bit. And just kind of start to layer them. And just tone the white down a little bit. You want to, if you could see, I'm pulling the paint in towards the center of the flower. And that's kind of what makes it look more proportioned, more correct. So I think I'm happy with that. All right, so now what I'm gonna definitely do is definitely hit it with the blow dryer because I wanna make sure that it's dry before I start putting my lettering on there, or I'll have my hand in it and then I'll mess it up. So definitely wanna make sure that, you know, as you're going across, that whatever you're putting your hand on is dry so that you don't ruin your painting. So now for our words, and again, like I said, my words for mine is going to be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. So looking at my painting here, I'm going to put the B up here, and again, this is just chalk, and I'm just drawing on here to give me placement. It just, for me, it works. If you're comfortable just doing it free-handed, I'm not at this with my handwriting. I think I have terrible handwriting. So oh, excuse me. And again, the chalk's just a guide, and it might be hard for you to see on there. It's just a guide for you that you could know where your placement is and that it's, you know, proportioned correctly. All right, so for our letters, I am going to use the same gray that we used in the background, and I'm going to use a very thin liner brush. I'm just looking for one that I'm happy with here. one. Okay. So again, load your brush. Thanks, Carrie. Alright, and then just start putting your words on. And if you could see, don't be afraid of the chalk mark, because once this is dry, then all you do is take a like a clean brush, any one, and just go over it, and the chalk comes right off. So don't be afraid of, you know, if you moved it a little bit, that's fine. And just remember, the more pressure you put on the brush, the thicker your lines are going to be. The less pressure, the thinner the line. So you want to keep that in mind when you're using a liner brush of any kind. And if you're not comfortable writing with your own handwriting, you could always go onto your computer program and print this out and then trace it and then copy that way. And you want to constantly make sure that you're loading your brush so that your lines are good. And as I'm looking at my flower, I'm going to go back in there because it's pretty white there. So I am going to go back in there. And sometimes that's just a little tip, that sometimes it's good for you to step away from your work so that you can see. And then it'll kind of give you a perspective. Oh, I need to add something there, or that looks good. Leave it go. And you also actually taking a picture of it, of your work as you're doing it. That'll also help you. Again, just be careful of the pressure that you're doing, because the more pressure that you put on the brush, the thicker your lines are going to be. And again, I might go into my flower a little bit here with the word, but that's okay. Okay, so then, like I said before, I just want to go back in here and go into here and just tone down this white a little bit. Not that I don't want any white, but maybe even it out a little bit. Just was pretty green right there, pretty white. Okay. All right, so again, we're just gonna blow it dry so I don't put my hand in it. Okay, so I'll just flip you up here and turn me around. All right. So there we have the finished product, as you could see. Thanks, Patty. I'm glad you like it. Just a few things that are coming up this week. I will be doing an episode on some brushes, and I think what I'm going to do is combine two of the brushes this week. So I'm thinking probably Thursday, but you'll want to watch for that post of doing a live on Thursday. And then Victoria and I will be going live on the weekend, and we are going to be doing a very basic ocean scene. So if you want to join me for that, grab your paint and either a canvas or I'm actually debating on doing it on a piece of wood, but I haven't decided yet. Thanks, Joy. I'm glad you like it. Thanks, Carrie. So we'll be doing that, I'm thinking Saturday afternoon. But again, just keep posted. Anytime I'm going to go live, I'm going to try to put it out there during the day to let you know when we're going live. So I really enjoyed having you ladies here tonight. I look forward to seeing your painted prayers. Drop a picture. Thanks, Kimberly. Drop a picture below if you do paint a painted prayer. I'd appreciate that. We could spread love for everybody to see with some hope and some inspiration instead of all the doom and gloom that's out there. So again, feel free to spread this with your friends. It's much appreciated. Until next time, thanks and have a great night.